Good morning. Welcome to the forecast discussion for November 26, 2012. We have a lot to talk about this Monday morning with a potential snow surprise for tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. I'm going to tell you what I'm looking at and why I'm a little bit concerned about this forecast. Let's dive right into this here. Currently this morning, as of 8:30 a.m., we have temperatures ranging from the lower to mid 30s over the northern interior to the mid to upper 30s along the coast, pretty much uniform throughout the region. A few cold spots here in central and eastern Pennsylvania, and of course in Messina, New York, where we're falling down to the upper 20s to lower 30s. For the most part, we're dealing with generally dry conditions, clear skies, and comfortable weather conditions. We did have a disturbance pass to the south over southern New Jersey with some cloud cover, but no precipitation. Taking a look at the latest radar. Now, this is the national radar. Two areas to keep an eye on. This right here is a polar disturbance, or the reflection of a polar disturbance with some precipitation over Nebraska. And this is a representation of our subtropical disturbance. Keep an eye on this convection and the growth of this convection throughout the day. You know I will be. Because this convection is going to tell us just how much interaction will be occurring between that subtropical disturbance and the polar disturbance. And the more they interact, the more our weather pattern for tomorrow evening becomes far more interesting. So we're going to have to keep an eye on and see exactly how much thunderstorms grow over portions of the Mississippi River Valley, as that is going to lead to an interesting dynamic in our weather forecast. Now, this is the infrared satellite picture. For today, we have a cold front moving through, reinforcing the cold air that's in place. Not much in the way of precipitation here. A lot of dry air is in place. And we have another secondary cold front back over the Great Lakes. It's also going to be diving south and west, south and east, should I say, through the region this evening, with a few clouds and not much in the way of precipitation. Our developing low pressure system's out here in Oklahoma, central Oklahoma to be exact, and this low pressure system will have to be watched as it moves towards the Tennessee River Valley this evening and towards the Mid-Atlantic coast for tomorrow. So we have our players on the field. Let's take a look at our water vapor satellite picture. This is really important. First, we have these surface features here, which I'm showing right here. Here's our low pressure system. 3 disturbances to keep an eye on. 1, the polar disturbance. 2, a subtropical disturbance. And 3, another subtropical disturbance. This disturbance right here is not being forecasted very well, which isn't surprising considering the lack of data we get from Mexico in this respect. So, as a result, this disturbance is looking far more amplified than what's being shown on the model guidance. And that's important because now there's a question, especially when you're seeing this convection developing over the Mississippi River Valley, of just how much this disturbance interacts with this disturbance, and as a result, how much of an influence it has on a polar disturbance as it's moving towards the Mid-Atlantic coast. If they phase, then we end up with a stronger storm and a far more interesting development over central and southern New Jersey and over southeastern Pennsylvania. If they don't, not much of a big deal, maybe 1 or 2 inches of snow in some colder locations, a trace everywhere else. It looks nice, but no major threat. So that's really the question here, to phase or not to phase. And what really catches my eye is the fact we have a negative NAO pattern developing here with blocking setting up over portions of the Canadian Maritimes that would slow this whole pattern down. And oh, by the way, when we look at the upper level winds, let's highlight that, with the upper and mid-level winds here, you can see a ridge starting to develop over the west coast, and that ridge is going to slide towards the Rockies by tonight. Why is that important? Well, it sets up a trough axis over the eastern United States that could make it possible for an area low pressure along the Mid-Atlantic coast to slow down just enough to produce a surprise snowfall for the Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan areas. So that's pretty much where we are in this wild card situation here with this weather pattern. The models aren't handling these disturbances very well. We have a very strong thermal gradient along the coast because our water temperatures are above normal in the Atlantic. And we have a pattern that is evolving that would support a slower track with this storm. So right now the models are suggesting that this disturbance moves through, we don't get full interaction, and so we end up with a light snowfall with only an inch or two at most in, let's say, around the Delaware River. The rest of the region, a trace of snow at most, mixing with rain and snow. No big deal. But if this interaction develops, then we end up with far more lifting, a better potential for a more rapid cool down in the evening, and between 5 p.m. tomorrow and let's say about 2 a.m. Wednesday, that's our window for the potential for a surprise snowfall that is currently not being forecasted by the models, and something we're going to have to keep an eye on. So when I take a look at the Gfs Model Guidance, we're using the Gfs Model Guidance from the Penn State EWOL website, an excellent website for model data. You can see what I'm talking about here, where that disturbance is really under forecasted over portions of Mexico. It's clearly more amplified and more impressive than what we're seeing here. It does try to handle the influx of moisture along the Gulf Coast, but again, it's a bit lacking compared to what we're seeing right now this morning. So we're going to see how this disturbance here interacts with these disturbances here. Because as we move forward in the forecast, you can see right around here, okay, right around Tuesday evening, right around 7 p.m., this disturbance and this disturbance on the model guidance remain separated. So as a result, the precipitation exits out, we end up with an inch or two, that's about it. However, if these two disturbances do interact, then this trough becomes sharper, it becomes what's called a negatively tilted trough. You end up with an inverted trough building back towards the coast, and then therefore you end up with a moderate snowfall developing over central and southern New Jersey and southeastern Pennsylvania. The only model that's hinting this right now is the NAM Model Guidance. So the volatility here is pretty high. My confidence on this idea is low, but I want to give you the warning because it is a possibility. Once this storm exits out into the Atlantic, by Wednesday morning everybody clears out. High pressure will be in control the rest of the week. Temperatures for the rest of the week generally below normal, ranging from the upper 30s to lower 40s over the interior, lower to mid 40s along the coast. We do warm up by this upcoming weekend as an area low pressure tracks towards the Great Lakes, bringing us some warmer air. High pressure generally will remain in control, but we'll have to be on the guard for a few scattered showers here and there on Saturday evening. But temperatures will rebound into the lower to mid 50s, pretty much where we should be for this time of year. So the main story heading in for tomorrow is, well, basically over the next 24 to 36 hours, we're going to watch that disturbance developing over the plains, and if any changes happen, you know I'll be covering it via Twitter and also Facebook. So that is your forecast for today. Of course, I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. Oh, by the way, what am I doing? I'm jumping the gun here. Here's the snow forecast for right now as we see it. Again, looking for about 1 to 2 inches in these areas shaded in blue. We're talking about Philadelphia, Allentown, Trenton, Wilmington, Lancaster, Reading. Those locations, 1 to 2 inches at most. Further to the west, a trace to 1 inch. Not really much in the way of snowfall here in Scranton and Wilkes-Barre and Hazleton. Further to the east, just over central New Jersey, a trace of snow, sleet, and rain. Don't see any freezing rain in this, but some snow and sleet, especially in the evening hours, could make for some slick conditions. And of course, if you're right along the coast, just some rainfall right now. Again, if this storm does phase, all of this changes and we see a lot more enhancement. And the threat for a more significant snowfall basically is from Monmouth County on south through Atlantic County, back towards southeastern Pennsylvania, including the Philadelphia metro, back towards Lancaster. That's where your threat lies, in this location right here, if that storm does intensify. If it doesn't, this forecast is perfect. If it does, this is all going to change to a higher potential for snowfall, with temperatures falling into the lower 30s, so you're looking at a heavy wet snowfall developing if this happens. Finally, I just want to also remind everyone that we are having a winter weather workshop December 1st in Percy, Pennsylvania, between 10 and 11:30 a.m. and also in Butler, New Jersey, between 3 and 4:30 p.m. We're going to be talking about the winter weather pattern, and you'll get a chance to ask me and other meteorologists questions on what to expect for this upcoming winter. All you have to do is click on this button here, and you just have to pay $20. Proceeds go to the Red Cross. $30 at the door. Well, that is your forecast discussion for today. Of course, I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. Follow the latest weather information at nynjpaweather.com and nynjpaweather on Twitter and Facebook. Have a great day. Stay safe out there.